Right, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. So, if you pick 2022 budget, and of course, last year's budget and the preceding budgets, I'm sure you would realize that one of the sectors that have been contributing very much and increasingly so to the economic development of Ghana is the real estate sector. Now, the sector is booming in the face of economic hardships and in the face of the rising dollar rate and in the face of very high interest rates. What is attracting a lot of businessmen and people into this sector? The primary focus has been to increase affordability of houses for the normal Ghanaian. This is a topic that we have picked up on quite a number of occasions on this show, The Bottom Line. The question tonight we ask is, how affordable is affordable housing? Is it business as usual for the businessmen that enter the sector, or they are helping government to create affordable housing for the normal Ghanaian? I'm sure you will side with me that for the businessman, it will be business, even or in as much as they would want to support the cause of government to provide houses for the normal Ghanaian. They will still want their profit. But what is the case and the cause of government itself? How is government supporting these people in the private sector to develop affordable housing for the people of Ghana? And government on its own, we've seen Ghana State Housing Company Limited doing a lot in the recent past. How is government on its own forging and forcing the promotion of affordable housing for Ghanaians? Are the houses that government is building itself affordable for the normal Ghanaian to be able to pay the price for it? And we'll juxtapose this with the salaries of people, the average Ghanaian here in our country. So this is our topic for tonight. It will be very interesting. I'm sure you want to stick and stay with us tonight. Pick a lesson and see if you can be able to mobilize some amount of money and begin a purchase of your own home. What are the issues in the construction sector? The high interest rates, the high prices that we are experiencing recently, the cases of importation, and so on and so forth. This is the bottom line. We say business at the speed of thought. My name is Kwesi Afri, and we are coming your way live from our studios here at Rage in Accra. We are live on DSTV channel 277, and we are live on our Facebook page, Chairman Kwesi Afri, and of course, Metro TV news page. You want to stick and stay with us? We will be right back. Welcome back from that break. Tonight, I've already spoken to you about our topic for discussion, which is how affordable is affordable housing in Ghana. We have a very special guest here in the studio tonight, and I'm sure you can put up all your concerns and comments on the number that will be scrolling on the screen. If it's feasible, we'll try as much as possible to get him to answer some of these questions. So put up your questions on the screen, and we'll share with our guest tonight and the public. The President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has been defending the economy. There's been a lot of complaints about how the economy has been faring in the recent past and even currently, about the increment in fuel prices. I'm sure if you have attended where you have to get your fuel, you would see the prices and the hikes that have come into the fuel pricing. There is also the case of interest rates. There is also the case of increasing dollar rates, exchange rates, and so on and so forth. The President has been speaking to the BBC, and he has strongly defended the economy. Let's listen to him.
The CD systematically appreciating against the dollar.
People still can't employ you now. I was just reading today, people in the hospitality industry that you're pushing so hard,
right,
having to lay their staff off. We've got taxi driver unions threatening strikes because of spiraling fuel costs.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't look like a place that I want to go and put my money.
Where will you put your money in the world today? Where will you put your money? In Britain? Which is suffering the worst standard of living statistics for over 30 years. Is that where? Is it? Oh, I think let's situate ourselves correctly. The world is going through very difficult times. Ghana is no exception. Nigeria is no exception. There's no country in the world that is escaping the ravages of both COVID-19 and also the impact of the Ukraine. But what you need to look at are where are the elements being put on the ground that look beyond the COVID and beyond the Russian-Ukraine war. And I think you'll find that in Ghana, the recovery program that we have is one that is considered very credible, and it is what is going to give us the opportunity to come out of this period a stronger economy. And it is that future that we're looking at when we're attracting people.
Right, so that's the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, speaking to the press. Let me come back to the studio, and I've already told you tonight our discussion and focus is on the housing sector. The minister has made some comments. That's the Minister for Works and Housing, Honorable Francis Asenso-Boakye, and he says government is committed to the full implementation of housing programs to bridge the country's housing deficit and challenges. Now, describing the Ghana Statistical Service data on housing that puts the national housing deficit at 1.8 million. That's a 33% reduction from the previous 2.8 million as great news. He said the ministry was focused on ensuring that the old age problem was effectively resolved. What do you think of this statement? Is the minister going to be true to his words? Do you see some level of seriousness in tackling the housing deficit? Is the minister true to supporting the private sector in mitigating the problem of housing? This achievement that we are talking about, is that within the short period since the minister took over, or this is accumulated achievement that we are talking about? I am not the best person to be answering some of these questions, but we have an industry expert here in the studio tonight, in the person of Mr. Emmanuel A. Cherry. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been exciting having you.
Good evening, my brother. Free.
It's been a while.
Very.
And I hope you're doing very well.
Wonderfully well, by His grace.
Let me begin with the minister's statement. I am sure you've seen the statement, and for you as an expert, we'll go into all the issues about construction and the housing and so on and so forth. But what do you make of it? Is it some good news?
Yeah, honestly speaking, first of all, let me take this opportunity to salute the council members of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, especially our indefatigable chairman and the surveyor, Emmanuel A, and then all the vice, Dr. Bona, as well as the general secretary, Richard Aban, as well. Honestly speaking, we were together with the minister at the presidency before this particular information was put out there. We believe that we are trying. We are struggling in the space of the housing sector to make sure that we balance the equation in a sense that the deficit in there is quite huge. Mm-hmm. As you and I know, around 2020, thereabout, the housing deficit at that time was 2-point-something million.
2.8.
Yeah. But during the census, we now interrogating the statistics, seeing it to be 1.8, which means there is a significant production that has at least bridged the gap in there. Mm-hmm. However, let's interrogate it very properly, situate it in context. What is the input of government? And then that of the private sector players.
Exactly. You can box on with that, the input of government and then the private sector, because that's going to be my focus of discussion tonight. So you can begin.
Yeah. So the area of government, as we all know, government is a facilitator of policies and regulations, creating an enabling environment for private sector players to take advantage of. However, in our case, it seems we are being, suffocating. We are being suffocating in the space of housing, in the reasons that
the private sector.
The private sector.
You are being suffocated in the case of housing.
Exactly.
The private sector that's developing the real estate,
exactly.
The real estate companies and all the estates that we see, all around the country now. Your case is that you are suffocating.
We are struggling.
How?
The reasons being that, honestly speaking, government's supposed to have been a partner to the private sector players, but it's a disconnect in here. Because most of the times, if you should interview grader members, most of them, they will tell you they're struggling. Because number one, if you go to the financial market, the lending rate, how much is the lending rate? What are the policy rates as we see it to be today? So if a private sector should go and borrow money against development, infrastructure development, that alone tells you the challenges the person will be going through. We don't have long-term funding in the industry. So if the private sector has been able to mobilize funding and put up housing in there, the issue of affordability also comes to play. Now, who is it constructing for to buy?
We'll come to that. Yeah. I am surprised to say you are suffocating.
Very.
With the kind of prices that you are charging, you would rather push the cost of your production or the prices, the difficulties that you face onto the final consumer. So if you are not getting the facilities,
that is the reason
the
why
loan facilities,
the affordability,
if the prices of the raw materials are rising, you don't bear it. So how are you suffocating?
Yeah, that's the reasons why the affordability in question is imperative, that we need to redefine that particular affordability.
But how are you suffocating?
Yeah. Number one, as a private developer, you need to go and look for land. Availability of land is another issue. You and I know the challenges that we normally go through in securing one parcel of land. If you are not very careful, you end up buying one land from 3 or 4 different persons, because you're also interested in that particular parcel of land to develop.
From the chiefs?
For the chiefs.
I mean, you have to be
exactly.
Straight
you see, so if that happens...
Getting land in some parts of, especially Accra here, it's the most difficult thing to do.
It's more than the, how do you call it, cocaine, excuse my word, in my language. It's more than cocaine we see today, honestly speaking. Because getting a parcel of land in the certain area of Accra, even Accra entirely, is very, very devastating, honestly speaking.
And it's surprising that some of these chiefs will be able to tell you that if you get the land, you need to begin building immediately, else it will be taken over. How should it happen?
That tells you that there's no guarantee in there for you.
But why should there be no guarantee?
Very good. So which means our land tenure system must be relooked at. Even though the Land Act has been reviewed, but has been amended, but still we have a pocket of issues in there for us to at least to address. So in this case, what is going to happen is the mortgage, Finance Act must quickly be relooked at to situate, to have a balance with the Land Act. If not so, what we are doing today is just cosmetic. It won't address anything.
But we hear also, I mean, let's stay on the land acquisition. We will tackle all of these problems one by one. But we hear also that the problem partly arises from you, the estate developers and the people in the construction sector, because you have a lot of money, and even when you know that this land or piece of land belongs to somebody who doesn't have too much to build or to do whatever purpose for which the person acquired it, you will still go in, bulldoze your way out, get the land and begin your buildings. Is that the case?
You see,
you have cases like that?
That's free. And honestly speaking, it's unfair treatment.
But you have some like that?
Definitely,
within the industry.
No matter what, in every, sector, there are bad norms and the good norms as well. So definitely there will be a pocket of such hoodlums among us, but it's in a minority.
But that's why you have the chamber. You have to be tackling
exactly. That. So there's a reason why we approach the president, through the president, and then these issues has been tabled accordingly. So we see the challenges in there. The only thing we can do is to meet dialogue among ourselves and see what are the propables, recommendations that possibly can bring out the solutions that we are looking for. Because for us to cure this, then the government must take pragmatic steps to make sure that there is a land bank set aside. The country entirely must be rezoned.
Have you told government this?
Have
you told the minister this?
Yeah, not the minister. We told the president himself in the presence of the minister. The entire country must be rezoned to make sure proper planning goes into it. You see, LUSPA is losing its credit, its focus, because they are not well resourced financially. So you realize that in the various assemblies, MMDAs and what have you, you see that most of the times developers are developing on authorized places and thereabout. They just go there, mark the place, stop building or produce permit, and that's all. Because they don't have the requisite staffs, they are struggling. So before you realize, the unauthorized structure has been completed. These are some of the challenges. So what we need to do as a country holistically, number one, to rezone the entire country. Let's do proper demarcation so that this influx of urban rural migration must at least reduce. Because everybody sees Accra or Kumasi to be the cash cow. So everybody wants to go in there. So therefore, what happens? We are becoming overcrowding. And if there is overcrowding, the commodities become scarce. So if it becomes scarce, then price fluctuation also cash in. So the fewer facilities you have in there, monopolies takes a set in, and then before you realize, the price fluctuation keep increasing. And that is what we are facing today.
And the price of land really affects you.
Exactly. You see, so for us to be able to have equilibrium in the developmental space of our country, first, the government must take pragmatic steps to make sure we demarcate this country. All the regions, we must know where are the residential, spaces, so that every real estate developer, immediately you move into this particular region or this district or
you
this
know that
particular,
this is where you can acquire land for your project.
And this land has been earmarked for this particular purpose, and you know where to get it. You see, but in this case, it's in the hands of some few persons, and then they are dilly-dallying with it. So if that happens, they finish selling the land. They still need, to break an evens. So what happened? They turn back and do otherwise, and land litigation comes in, and that's where you see Langard. Thankfully,
we have the Vigilantism Act, which is going against Langards, and I'm not sure it's been too much prevalent lately.
Yeah, and then in addition to the passage of a Real Estate Agency Act, which has also a letter component in there that can at least help reduce that particular influx, if properly being looked into. Even though the council has been inaugurated, but letter has been heard about them. So we are yet to see much work from that particular council, Real Estate Agency Council. We want to see much work from them because, number one, they need to do...
That's on the side of government.
Exactly.
So you have Grader, you have the chamber, and then you are not going to have one for government.
Grader have letter to do because it's an association.
Yes, I know. I know.
So
I know, but now that we have a council from government,
they are very good.
The collaboration should be effective enough to resolve some of these problems.
Very good. So that's the reasons why we want government to partner the private sector developers. So in as much as we don't have the legal backing to bite as much as is expected or required, what we need to do, governments must strategically come alongside with the private sector players like Grader, so that at least strategically, if you start engaging Grader members, automatically those on the fence will definitely come in. But here like the case, it's free entry, free exit. Anything goes.
Let me move away from the land. The exchange rate has always been a disadvantage for Ghana because our city has always been depreciating against the major foreign currencies. But recently, it's been on the hike. How has this also been a challenge for you? You said you are suffocating. So I am picking the points you have raised yourself one by one. Then we can come back into the cost and what we can do about it.
That's fine. Honestly speaking, I pity a businessman who has gone in for financial, international funding.
You haven't gone in for one. You are using your own money.
Yeah, I pity them a lot because at the time they went in for this particular facility, how much was the exchange rate? How much was exchange rate last year as compared to this year? So that tells you that the variables is something else. It doesn't make business sense. So if a businessman is to go into the financial market to take a loan facility of 23%, now it has been reviewed upwards. So automatically it's going to be 27, 28, or 30, depending upon the rate factor. So if this happens, and then the developer goes into this facility and finish developing, what do you expect? You also slap the final product, the cost on the final product. So automatically, that word affordable is completely defeated on arrival.
We can't have affordable housing.
No, for now. It must be redefined. It must be housing by income, not affordable housing. Because 100,000 may be affordable to you based upon your income, but can never be affordable to somebody else. So it must be housing by income, and that is where housing authority must come in so that we situate the issues accordingly. Let's properly interrogate the issues in the sector. Because market women, for instance, how much is their salary? Do they have salary? No. They mark themselves possibly by wages or what have you.
Yes, you have stated the problem that you are suffocating, and you are saying that it should be housing by income. Yeah. If we take the average Ghanaian's income, the average Ghanaian cannot buy a 2-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom apartment. And there is a belief also that you are charging abnormally high.
That's where we come, because the land, number one, is a high commodity, which
yes,
is very
expensive.
Yes, we have
seen that. The land is high.
Now, interest
rate is going high.
The lending rate is
lending
also
rate
very
is
high.
going high.
Exchange
but you are
rate.
pushing all of this to the
Exchange
customer.
rate is also very high.
And your profit is also going high.
The businessman is not for the Christmas. Is that to make an even?
You should also adjust. We are in a time of crisis.
If you should interrogate properly their books, their financial books, you realize that the tax component alone takes a lot of money from this.
I have seen a businessman who had built a house and was costing it about $45,000 for a 2-unit semi-detached house. And then in the next month or so, a house that he has completed with the furnishing and everything and has given it the price tag with a flyer. He just recalled the flyers and then posted it to $65,000, $20,000 difference.
Exchange rate.
But nothing had happened.
No, something has happened.
What has happened?
You may not understand. Something has happened in the area.
The raw materials, the stones, the iron rods, everything that he bought, he had bought them already.
Possibly he has gone to the international market to borrow money. Now the interest rate, how much is it? At the time he borrowed, to the time that he's now going to service the facility, see the difference. Who is going to pay the difference for him? So the end buyer, the end user, bear the brand. That's the problem you are facing now. So as I said, government partly must be blamed into this particular challenge. Because, number one, if the interest rate is not reduced to make business sense, automatically the affordability is already defeated on arrival. The land banks must be made available by government himself. He must get to the allotment owners of the land and then make sure that he makes land banks available, demarcate the entire country into proper zoning, so that we know that this is industrial area, this is for residential, this is for the recreational centers, and what have you. So everybody that moves in there know exactly what to do. But today, this morning, for instance, there was a discussions about this importation. There's going to be very soon we're going to import quarry dust and what have you, quarry materials. What is it for? Because encroachment. It isn't that we don't have the materials, though, we have them in excess. But the challenge is because LUSPA, Land Use and Special Planning, they are not doing their work well. I don't blame them because they are not being given the requisite facilities to do their work well. So now, a place that has been demarcated for mining, before I realize people have encroached over the place. EPA is also in bed. Assembly, the assemblies can only rise up to the task if LUSPA is being empowered, because they need to use LUSPA. Now, here like the case, they don't have the financial resources.
Where do you think the problem is coming from? Government is not managing the situation well.
Partly.
Because from all you have said, there has to be the will and the power to crack the whip on, of course, EPA, you have mentioned EPA, we have mentioned chiefs, we have mentioned LUSPA, we have mentioned citizens, we have mentioned even some of the real estate owners. Is it the problem of government?
It's a problem of government because demarcation has not been properly done.
Yes, we have mentioned.
Who owes LUSPA, Land and Special Use Planning? Who owes it? Is it not government? Is it not government agency? Who's supposed to resource them? What is their work? What is their mandate? Are they doing it? What is happening to the quarry sites now? Why are the people encroaching? Is there any proper demarcation? A place that has been demarcated for mining now has become in a residential area. Is that proper planning? My brother, who do we blame?
We blame the economic situation of the country. Let me come to the issue of building materials. I understand, and it is very simple to know that because of the interest rate, lending rates, now MPC and everything, things have to go high. But there is also the belief that the materials have gone, for want of better words, abnormally or absurdly high. Why is it so? Iron rods, about 3, 4, 5 months ago, was just pricing around 3,100 or 3,500. It went up to about 4,200 and then 5,000. Now I hear it's around 8,000.
8,000
A
plus.
bag of cement. It's more than 60 Ghana cedis.
Last year, how much was it?
It was around 35 or so.
25 and 35, 25 between 25 to 30. Now, how much is it? Almost 65.
But why
64.
is this the case? Why are we facing this?
Importation.
What has importation done?
Yeah. If you take cement, for instance, almost 90% of its raw material is clinker, which we don't have in the country here. We import. So importation, if it comes, freight, clearing, all those, and then the other tax components and what have you, is being slapped on it. Then the importer, it's not like Father Christmas that is also going to say, oh, hallelujah, so let me dash. No. So automatically, he also need to break an even. So after clearing, struggling, sweating to clear, what do you expect him to do? He must also adjust the price accordingly so that he can also make an even. So importation is number one cost. Exchange rate. Before you go into the international market to buy, you need to change CD to dollar because CD is not accepted anywhere apart from Ghana. It's a pity. So what do we do? You need to look for dollar. So by so doing, there's pressure on the dollar. Now see where the dollar is. So just imagine the amount of CD is going to change before getting some $1,000 as compared to last year. So automatically, if it goes and comes, the difference will be slapped on the finished product. That's only for cement. If it comes to the cement as well, after production, transportation, fuel cost. How much is the fuel today per liter as compared to last year? Because cutting it from the manufacturing warehouse to the various depots, you need to transport it.
Are you telling me, I mean, with all these lecture, so to speak, we cannot have affordable housing? The private sector, let me situate this on you before we come to. All we have been doing so far is to focus on the private sector. But from your angle, we cannot have affordable housing.
We can if government take the lead by supporting us with the proper enabling environment, by getting us land banks.
Can you reduce
making funding available?
Can you reduce your abnormal profits?
If you see, one thing is,
can you reduce? Can you yes or no?
It can reduce.
Can you reduce
based
your
upon
abnormal
certain
profits?
indicators. One, if a business.
Are you aware that if you want to put up a 2-bedroom house, or if you want to construct maybe a 3-story, you do what you call quantification.
Bill of quantity.
Bill of quantity. Thank you very much. And so you know how much you are going to put into it. Are you aware that some owners double up the cost to have the same amount for which they spent on the project as their profit? Are you aware?
You see, there's a reason why.
So if I spent $100,000 to put up the building, I want to charge $200,000. Can you reduce your profits?
Definitely. As for that, for now, government does not have control because we don't have any proper regulation regime. There's a reason why the Honorable Minister for Western Housing, Asenso Bachi, is trying as much as possible pushing for the establishment of the housing authority. The bill now is before Parliament, Cabinet. As President told us, they have already approved it. Cabinet has already approved it. So you need to come back for us to interrogate it and then send it back.
Is that going to regulate pricing?
It's definitely. There is a lot of work that is going to do for us. That nomenclature called housing authority. If it's come to play, even price regulations and thereabout will come to play. You see, it will come and give us proper definition of what is affordable housing. Who is going to categorize the citizenry? This is for this particular market. This is for this particular market. That's for the other market. So based on that, then you know that if you are producing this particular type of housing product, it's tailored for such particular persons. Okay? But as we speak today, the developer is a businessman. Now he has gone to struggle, pick a land. He's now trying to develop. Hire the services of a contractor,
engineers and what have you on site. They are working for him. After finishing, he's struggling to construct access road, from wherever to the site, the developer site. Now, road construction alone is not easy. After that,
should the customer bear that? Should that not be the burden between you and government?
Coming.
It should be the burden between you and government.
let me land.
For the road, for the electrification, for the police post that you put up within your
all
estate.
those things supposed to have been done by government to cushion the private sector developer, but he has left everything on the neck of or the head of the developer. If the developer struggle to go into it and finish with it, now government comes to take ownership over the utility services.
But you should apply to government for that. If you have gone to a new area where government has not already planned to put up a road, because government is already burdened with a lot of dilapidating roads, and the developer, you want your profits, you come and get an area, for example, in my village, and you put up the houses and people begin to buy. You know that now there is a need. Why don't you apply to government and tell government that, hey, there are a number of people, commercial people that are using this place now. Come and put up electricity, come and put up roads, come and put up a police post. You go ahead to do it and you build the customer with it.
Government will tell you it doesn't have the facility.
Have you done that with government?
Oh.
Have you pushed government on that?
Oh. That's the reasons right now, the only opportunity that we have is to push for the establishment of the housing authority.
I agree.
That's the only.
I agree.
That's the only game changer. Apart from that, all that we are saying is just cosmetic. It's just a talk shop.
Now, before I come to government parts, finally, there is the appetite, so to speak, for luxury buildings, luxury apartments by your industry, which you are part of. I'm sure you are putting up by this time some 5 or 10-story building in either Laboni or cantonments here to charge exorbitant prices. Why so?
You see, one thing is, as I said earlier, the country, until we rezone the country and open up the country, will still be wallowing in this same issue. The time has come for us to change the status quo and rechart our path for better results. Here like the case, everybody now have a taste and preference for either Jawulu, cantonment, East Legon, American House area, or Horror View. So because of that, they target as prime areas. Land alone there can build over, 10-story building elsewhere. Just land alone.
Yes, exactly.
Can build 10-story building elsewhere, within the same country, or within the same region. But because we tag such areas as prime areas, that is what we see. So what must you do? We must open up. So if government take the bull by its horns, by moving the private sector along, I'm telling you, if, for instance, you go to Amasama, you take a land bank, okay, develop this type of housing for us. You go to Abokobi area, you develop this, a Buri area, a Dodowa area, and thereabout. And then the road networks or rail system is put in place. I'm telling you, this kind of so-called prime area and thereabout would have been defeated.
Let me go on a quick break. When I come back, I'll ask you about the issue of money laundering with private sector developers. After that, I would again ask you now about government, whether you think government's drive in creating affordable housing is on the right path or has been successful so far. We have seen the Ghana Housing Company Limited put up some new houses, which is kind of new in the area. So I'll ask you the two questions before we round up. But before I go on the break, a quick one. Courage De Zanga from Spinkters says, what was the house renting for the youth government promise? Yes, I'm sure I put this question down. Thank you very much, Courage. You would have to attend to that for me too. I mean, what do you make of the promise and how far it's come? You are in the industry, you have to be able to know where it's coming from so far, because the rent was going to be from you. We were going to rent the buildings and the houses from you. So Courage De Zanga says, what was the house renting for the youth government promised, and why government couldn't invest in agri sector for food security with a COVID fund? What measures government put in place to monitor the COVID-19 fund given to NBSSI? Ours and our focus tonight is on the housing sector. So, Courage, kindly indulge us. Let's attend to the housing bit of the question. Daniel from Ekwapim says, Ghana does not need affordable housing. What we need is stabilized economy where prices of goods and services are affordable for the average Ghanaian. Daniel from Ekwapim, that's well noted. Cost of building materials, iron rods, cement, and wood. You didn't complete your message and you didn't add your name as well. So-called leaders of this country are wasting our limited resources. Somebody should call the president to order. We have some of these so-called uncompleted affordable housing in Kumasi built by former President G.E. Kufuor, Nana go and complete it. That has been worked on. You didn't add your name, first of all, and I'm sure if you have monitored the news quite recently, I think somewhere last year, SNIT, I'm sure, I would verify, but SNIT, where the Ghana Housing Company has collaborated to complete that project, and it has been launched, and I'm sure it's been given to people, but I would verify that. So we'll be right back from our break. You're welcome back from the break. This is the bottom line. We say business at the speed of thought. And of course, I'm still here in the studio with the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, Mr. Emmanuel A. Cherry. He's been answering questions bordering especially on the private sector. We'll now move into the public sector as well. But let me ask him the last one. Is it the case that your industry is a conduit for money laundering?
You know, for some time ago, somewhere last year thereabout, we're privileged to be cleared from the list, the blacklisting. We were blacklisted because certain group of people or persons decided to use that particular space for this kind of business. So that's a very reason why the private sector players, especially Ghana Institution of Surveyors, try as much as possible to crack down on those particular hoodlums by promoting this particular bill, Real Estate Agency Bill, which is now an art. Thankfully, it has now become an art. So there is a little space in there for such people to be able to propagate that evil gospel.
So what is going to happen now? If I want to buy a house, I can't carry money in the sack and bring it to you.
No.
But that's been going on.
You see, now the art is in place. As I said earlier, the structure, the administrative structure of the council is where the challenge is. Since they are struggling, so government, as quickly as possible, must resource the formation or the establishment of the Real Estate Agency Council administrative structure to make sure that they start the sensitizations and advocacy, making sure that at least they conscientize the entire populace for them to know that there's an art in the system now.
You want your money. I have come with $150,000 or $200,000 in cash. And you were asking that I should go and put it in the bank, or the council has made regulations that I should go and put it in the bank. And I'm saying, I'm traveling back to the UK or to the US tomorrow. If you don't take it, I take my money back. I go to a different...
The issue is that the dynamics has changed. The reason's been that before, it's free exit, free entry. Anybody gets has to call himself a broker or real estate agent. So how do you measure their activity? Nothing. So by the establishment, promulgation of this particular act, automatically, all the so-called agents are going to be licensed. They must pass through a licensure exam, write an exams, qualify before you be given a license to operate or to practice as a real estate agent or broker, unlike before. So if that happens, the license has a portfolio. So every asset that you're going to transact must be registered. So whosoever that is coming to buy, the mode of payment, all those things has been defined in the acts. So unlike before, that you can just carry a bag, how do you call it, a bag full of money, and go and dump it. I want to buy this, take it and... No, those days are gone. But as you said, it will still be trading in the, underground because the art is not yet biting.
I'm out of time, but people think that's been part of the reasons why the dollar rate or the exchange rate keeps destroying. The city keeps depreciating against the dollar and the other currencies because a lot of people hold money and when they bring it to you, you take it.
Who do we blame? Government, we supported you by passing an act that has a tooth to bite, and it's not biting, it's not operational, it's not functional. Whom do you blame? Do you blame us?
Let me come to government. I think I have just about 2 or 3 minutes, but let's be able to do this. Government, State Housing Company Limited, SHC.
Now, don't forget to, somebody asked a question about rent.
Yes, okay, so let's do that before we come to the rent. Let's finish with that before we come to the rent. I think I'll allow you some time to be able to do that. Is government on the right path?
Yeah, as I said.
We've seen a lot of housing units coming up. That's competition against you.
That's very good.
Against you and
you
so
know,
on.
State Housing Company is a member of Grader. Mm-hmm. So they're also operating as a private entity. The advantage they have over Grader members, some of the Grader members, is that government has certain land banks for them. Mm-hmm. So they may not struggle as a private developer who come in. They have access to access road. The Minister for Roads and Highways has promised them access roads and thereabout. So no matter what, no beat us to reach. So if government want to give us a fair balance, a fair share of national cake, then it should be very fair. Making sure that the same provisions that is making available to State Housing Company, TDC and Co., it should make the same provision available to other private developers, and I'm telling you, we'll beat them to nothing.
You'll beat government to nothing.
I'm telling you.
And your houses will be cheaper.
Even as now.
I am concerned. You know that you have seen that from our conversation. I'm very much concerned. Yes.
There are greater members who are developers. Mm-hmm. Their houses are a little more even cheaper than that of TDC.
Are you sure?
I'm challenging you.
No, but
Tomorrow
the area, you talk about the prime area. So when you have built, or maybe when I have built, for the purposes of our discussion, somewhere at Nsawam or beyond, and you build within the TDC enclave, it should cost higher than mine. So if you do that juxtaposition, it doesn't work.
Oh, the same within the same enclave.
Within the same
I'm
TDC area.
Tomorrow,
yes,
you can send your how do you call it, a news.
I can go myself with
Let
camera.
them do it, and they bring the facts and figures to you. I'm telling you. So if that tells you that if government should give us a fair playing ground, there are private developers who are members of Grader who can do better than what these people are doing. You're not downgrading them.
You don't appreciate what a State Housing Company is doing. What TDC
they are doing marvelously well. Mm-hmm. But it's unfair treatment. The competition is unfair. Fairly being, being mounted on us.
Is it not the case that they are not too much interested in abnormal, quote unquote, again, abnormal profits or too high profits?
So if government should give us a facility, give me land, make access roads available, utility services and what have you, and tell me that I want you to produce a particular house, this type of house for me, do you think I go beyond that? But if you go into the market...
The quality may go down.
I'm telling you. You see, but if you go into the market and struggle to do all this, including the exchange rate and then the interest rate.
And you add your profits.
You slap it on it. And then, because now, as you said, preference, taste also comes in.
Yes.
Most of our private players or developers are ready to give a market, a tailored product to our people. But go and do it right now. Use, bricks to build the houses right now. The same people, let them go, they'll tell you, hey, I don't want Takwama building.
But that's in UK,
they don't want it.
UK and other places.
You see? So
the
now, as we speak, we are going to US. The president has stated the equation that the prices in US is cheaper than that of Ghana. So we are moving the minister. He's leading us. We are going to US.
When?
On next 2 months, June. We are going to at least do a business tour. Make sure that we compare issues accordingly. And let's see. Most of the things being done in the US, some of them are wood houses. Some of them are steel houses. We are doing concrete blocks.
Let's tackle the rent question. My producer says my time is up. I will be
soon?
cut off. Yes, sir. What has become of the rent promised by government? I know this is not in your place, but I mean, you are in the industry. What has become of it?
You know, honestly speaking, government has promised to, introduce a national rental assistance scheme. And then that scheme is to at least alleviate this kind of these rental challenges on our youth, especially, who are now new in the job market. To be honest with you, that can only be done with legislation. We already have Rent Act in the system. So the immediate thing for government to do is to amend the Rent Act, which is currently ongoing, that I am aware of, because we also contributed in the, by giving position paper to that effect. So the Rent Act amendment is before Cabinet. It has also been approved by Cabinet. So which means it will be long. If this is also being passed, the amendment is being factored into before government can go out there and start implementing this. Until then, there is nothing you can do for now.
So it is not a case of if government is not committed to it.
No. You need to amend the act first.
Thank you very much for tonight, for your time. I am happy you joined us tonight. A lot of insight and a lot of questions answered. We still have a lot more questions, Joe, and I'm sure when we get to you again, we'll put them up to you. And some questions are
can come back next week.
Are still coming. Okay, so let's see. We'll speak to the producer and check on the remaining question if we will be allowed. But kindly do stand by for us. So please allow me to read just these two messages. Hi, good discussion, but your guest has been talking for almost an hour now and you haven't mentioned his name. Not everybody listened from the beginning. Right. I have mentioned his name, from the beginning, but I have again mentioned when we went on break, and I think intermittently I've done once or twice, but his name is currently on the screen. Mr. Emmanuel A. He's the Chief Executive Officer, Ghana Chamber of Construction and Industry. So that's coming from Lily in Accra. Lily, thank you very much. The name affordable as used in the parlance of our housing industry is inconsistent with the true meaning of the word. At the so-called affordable housing in Kumasi at the Asokori Mampong, Snit is selling a 2-bedroom unit for 140,000 Ghana cedis and 190,000 Ghana cedis for a 3-bedroom flat. So the question that came early on, it is true that the president has continued and completed that project through Snit, but this is the news that it is being sold for 140,000 for 2 units and 190 for 3-bedroom. This is Isaac Ama, the founder and chief executive officer of Trust View Real Estate in Ghana, West Africa. I'm sure this is to the question that came early on. Isaac, you acknowledged. I'm sure the producer will contact you for further discussions after the program. If government stabilizes the cedi against the dollar, the price of houses in Ghana will be affordable. This is because about 60 to 70% of building materials are imported. Well, I didn't get your name as well. But thank you very much for doing the watching. And thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel A, Chief Executive Officer, Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. My name is Kwesi Afriye. Thank you very much, everybody, from Solomon to producer Winston. And, of course, a special congratulations to our producer, Eugenia, now Mrs. Williams. You had your wedding last weekend, last Saturday. It was a very beautiful one. Most of us were there to support you. We pray for you. We wish you a blissful marriage, a marriage full of happiness and children. Good evening to you all. Thank you very much for watching.